you were having a hell of a time getting lead. You'd think for a while that he didn't hear your question because you wouldn't be loping. But he'd figure out where that horse was kind of drawn the most in the pen. Like, for example, in this pen, I'd pick this corner intuitively. Because anything that might influence a horse to coming this way, the greatest pull is there. Because there's no horses on the outside pulling him. You're a long ways from the gate you came in. Your horse trailers are over there. Everything about that should help you if you knew how to use it. And he would have you put a horse on a teeter, and he would have you trot that horse along that fence all the way around, and he'd have you build that horse's trot up to where he couldn't possibly trot any faster. And he'd say, don't lope him, keep him on the fence. And then he'd say, take him off the teeter through there. In other words, just relax and let him trot slower. And then as you're coming up this side, he'd have you building that trot. And he'd get a little frustrated with you if you let your horse lope. He'd help you to find that teeter where he can't possibly trot any faster, and he's trotting the right lead through there. And pretty soon he'd try to help you grow that teeter, that area where he would have taken his lead. He'd say, let's try to get him on the teeter a little sooner before he gets to the corner. So you'd try to maximize it a little bit earlier. And then he'd try to get you to carry it a little bit farther past the corner. And then he'd say, that's good, leave him alone, take him off the teeter, slow down. And then after a while, he'd have you grow that teeter from here to about here. So anywhere in here, the horse knew, and all he was doing is teaching you how to trot him on the right lead. And pretty soon, anywhere through here, he'd say, get him on the teeter, and then finally he'd say, now just tip him over the other side. And it would take about that much to get him to lope. And he'd roll over into that right lead without all kinds of manipulation. And pretty soon, and then he'd say, just go a little ways and just pet him, don't do anything, now walk him. And he'd just keep on that. Pretty soon, he could have you have a horse on a teeter all the way around the pen, even at the least likely place right through here. You could have him on that teeter. And once you mastered the teeter, not the loping, once you mastered the teeter, well, you're a changed